Hey guys, I want to take a moment to just talk to you guys about what a true actual healthcare system should look like. This is part of it's my opinion, but it's after 10 years of experience in healthcare and also just working with really a lot of patients and a lot of doctors and a lot of just doing tons of studying and research and realizing and understanding really how the body's made to work and physiology. And just looking at how we're currently doing things as a healthcare system and knowing that there is such a better way and that we're really in the healthcare system that we're in right now, we're not really working with the body, we're really working against it. So today's video is going to really teach you exactly what you should be doing to make sure you're not only getting healthy if you have health issues right now, but to make sure that you stay that way for you and your family for a really long period of time. Like, this is your real healthcare plan. Patients are always asking me, I feel good, but what should I be testing each year? What should I be doing each year? And this is what I'm going to tell you today is that this stuff does have to be individualized. I'm going to walk you through how to create your own healthcare plan so you actually have a game plan for your family. With finances, so many people create plans. We create a financial plan on how we're going to save money. We budget, we think about the future, we plan for retirement, we do all that stuff, but no one really, or many people don't have a health plan. And this is huge because guess what? We only get one of these. We only get one body. If you go bankrupt, you can start over and make money again. If this body goes bankrupt, you can't start over. It's done. So it's very important. It's actually the most important thing to your finances. It's the most important thing to your relationships. It's the most important thing to your entire life that you take care of this body. The Bible says this is the temple of the Holy Spirit, and it's something that we're called to take care of. And then when we do take care of it, the coolest part is when you do take care of it, you get the rewards from that. You get to actually enjoy life. So you need a plan. And so I'm going to share with you today what I think is, and what we're using for our family as a real healthcare plan. So first thing is, let's start from a viewpoint of, hey, maybe you're someone that's dealing with a symptom. Maybe it's an actual disease process. Maybe you're someone dealing with heart disease. Maybe you're dealing with just migraine headaches. Maybe it's digestive problems like ulcerative colitis. Maybe it's something small, like, well, it's not small, but in terms of ulcerative colitis, something like allergies, right? Whatever that is for you, maybe your kids just get colds all the time, or you have ear infection, or they get ear infections a lot, and you just want to make sure that that is not only prevented, but you can get rid of those things. So the first thing in terms of healthcare is we do have our emergency care system, right? So medicine is truthfully, it is set up and should be in an emergency care system, right? If somebody's having a heart attack, like, so let's just say, a friend, someone you know is having a heart attack, and they get, so if that person's having a heart attack, what should we do? Well, we're not going to give them some supplements, and we're not going to just do chiropractic care. We're not going to do all these natural things. We're going to go to the one thing that we know can alter their physiology immediately and stop, or hopefully stop that heart attack and hopefully keep them from dying. So they're going to get rushed to a hospital. You're going to call 911. They're going to get in the ambulance. They're immediately going to start giving them, things to thin their blood, things to start to get their heart rhythm back in alignment. They're going to start doing everything they can to get that heart back on track and make sure that there's no death in the tissue. And if there is, then they do surgeries and they do things to remove arterial wall clogging and things like that. That helps save that person's life in the moment. So I 100% agree that is not only an important part of healthcare, it is a part that without, personally, my dad wouldn't be alive right now, most likely. He had a heart attack, and that's what saved his life. And so that system is crucial, it's valuable. However, it is an emergency care system. It's not a healthcare system. So once you've had that heart attack, or that person had the heart attack, and they're in the hospital, the next day they're still alive, the doctor comes in, and instead of saying, okay, Johnny, your heart attack, you had a heart attack, and here's what caused it, and here's what you're going to need to change in your life, and here's the things that are going to, and here's why you had that heart attack, and these are the things you can do to make sure you never have a heart attack again. Instead of doing that, we say, okay, take this medication, and that's going to, and it's always the same. It's always a blood thinner, a baby aspirin, and it's also a blood pressure medication and a cholesterol medication, no matter what your cholesterol numbers are. And the problem is that actually low cholesterol can cause heart problems and can cause strokes and things like that. But they give you that medication, and so it's kind of like if you had a fire in your house. So, like, let's say you're driving home and you're pulling up to your house, and the house is on fire. So when that house is on fire, who are you going to call? Well, you're going to call the fire department, right? And the fire department's going to come. They're going to jump out of the fire truck with an axe and with a hose, and they're going to knock down the door with that axe. They're going to bust out the windows. They're going to start spraying down the walls, and they're going to drench everything and just really get rid of that fire. And then when that fire is done and your house is still there, at least part of it, you're going to look at that firefighter and you're going to give them a big hug. You're going to be so happy that they saved your house. Like literally, you have something left, right? But when you look at that house, the walls are drenched, the carpet's drenched, the pictures are many times ruined, and you have a lot of rebuilding to do, right? And so if you woke up the next day and you go to your house and it's drenched down and everything else, are you going to call the fire department again to come drench your house again? You would never do that. That wouldn't make any sense. But that's what we're doing with our health, is we're watering down our house every single day. That put the fire out, but now we're going to keep watering it. And the problem with that is it keeps breaking down and breaking down. Most of us are walking around, many people are walking around on these medications, and they're just watering their house down. And what's happening is their body is slowly getting weaker and weaker and sicker, but they don't feel it anymore because these medications are blocking the symptoms that are telling the fire alarm. They're blocking the fire alarm that's telling you there's a problem. So that's the current healthcare system that we live in. The emergency part of that, I 100% agree with. We need to keep that. However, we need to pull ourselves out of it as a healthcare system in terms of keeping us healthy on a daily basis. So the next day, you're going to go to your house, you're going to call the insurance company, obviously, but then you're going to call a carpenter or you're going to call a contractor, and they're going to come in and they're going to evaluate your home. They're going to start to test some things. They're going to see what needs to get taken out or what needs to be restored. They're going to do some measurements, and then they're going to create an actual game plan to get your house back to where you want it to be, right? And that's a great deal for rebuilding your house, but it's the same thing for rebuilding your life and rebuilding your health. So you go to the doctor and maybe you have to take a medication because you're in an emergency state. Maybe you have ridiculously high blood pressure. Maybe you're at a state where ulcerative colitis is so bad, it's inflamed, you're bleeding, you have major issues, and we got to take something to get that inflammation down immediately while we start to restore the health. Or whatever that is, right? Maybe your allergies are so bad you can't breathe and you're just can't handle it, so you take medications to get allergies back to normal or to block your immune response. Maybe you have migraine so bad you can't even open your eyes and go out in the daylight, so you take a medication to get rid of that migraine. That all makes sense, but it doesn't make sense. Here's what doesn't make sense is that you're doing that daily, that you're doing that weekly, that's actually your game plan for health. Does that make sense? Like you actually went to the doctor and they gave you a pill and then that was your plan. That's what doesn't make sense. So I want to shift that part of your thinking right now and say, okay, now let's create a plan for that. So the way we do that is you go to a different type of doctor. And I say that because the philosophy has to be different. If you're going to your normal, everyday, your medical doctor, their philosophy is, let's find the symptom, we have the symptom, let's give you the medication that goes along with the symptom or the fire that's on your testing. And if they do that blood work, let's say you go in and you're fatigued and you're tired all the time and you have anxiety, but then they do blood work and there's nothing on there, they're just going to simply say, okay, here's an anti-anxiety medication, here's whatever, and there's never going to be an actual here's what's causing you to have that anxiety or here's why you're tired all the time, right? So number one part of a real healthcare system is you need an actual true all-out full body evaluation, right? And that evaluation starts with a consult. That consult needs to be in tune to questions that are going to figure out what's going on with your health, right? Well, one of the things we do is we do something called a functional assessment questionnaire. It's 275 questions that you actually fill out before you come into our office, and it literally gives us a big picture of what's going on with your health just based on what you're experiencing in your life in terms of symptoms. And then that second part is we sit down and we talk about it. Okay, what have you tried for this? What has worked? What hasn't worked? What are you experiencing? And you go through those scenarios and you can start to individualize that picture of these symptoms, right? So you have these symptoms and then we start to talk and it becomes more individual towards you and really how you're handling it and how your body's responding. And then and what stressors that are in your life that may have led to this. So are you someone that sits at a computer all day long on a computer? If so, then hey, that's probably what's causing a lot of these health issues. Are you someone that's had a major car accident and you have a concussion, or you're an athlete that had a lot of concussions? I mean, there's just so many scenarios in these instances in terms of these symptoms. So for you to come in with a symptom, a digestive problem, and me not to really evaluate your history in terms of everything from like, hey, you could have a concussion from football back in high school, and that's what's causing your gut problem. That actually happens. Or that's what's causing your joint issues, or that's what's causing your back problem, or things like that. So we need to go through that history and really figure out what was the stressor. Was it a physical stress like that, like I just explained? Was it chemical stress, that you lived in a house that was really old and it had a lot of mold in it? Or was it a chemical stress, like you started to experience all these symptoms after you got the flu shot? Very common. Or your kids started to experience these symptoms after they got their vaccines. That's a very common scenario. Or maybe you lived next to a farm that had all kinds of pesticides. Or I've had this instance where the guy worked in tobacco farming most of his life, and now he has Parkinson's disease, which is linked to a lot of the pesticides because of the heavy aluminum count in it. So going through that history is the individualized part of healthcare that has to happen. If you're going to a doctor that's not doing that part, then we're missing a huge step in figuring out why you're actually dealing. Where's this stressor coming from? So now we can start to remove that interference. The second step is an exam. So going through an evaluation. One of the main things I look at first is posture, just seeing how that person's standing, how are they holding themselves? Do they have forward head posture? Are they head down? Is the head rotated? Is it tilted to one side? Is one shoulder higher than the other? Is their pelvis rotated? Things like that. Do they have a sway back? The next is we do a weight distribution, right? So actually have you stand on bilateral scales to see if you're distributing your weight differently. Are you putting more weight on one side than the other? And this is all just the physical biomechanics of the body that we're starting to look at from the outside before we do anything. The next step is you want to do, I go through a range of motion. I want to see how well your body's moving. So I take you through range of motion movements to see, can you move like you should be able to move? And or is there restrictions? And that restriction area tells me a lot about your health, especially with your spine. And then after that, now we can go through and actually, okay, let me feel your body, let me feel your muscles, let me feel your joints, let me see what, I can literally feel what's moving, what's not moving. Let me do an abdominal exam, feel in your abdominal cavity, see if there's anything that shouldn't be there that we feel, listen to it and see if there are any noises, sounds, things like that. And this is like a full evaluation to see, what does your skin look like? What do your nails look like? What's your hair look like? Right? Is your skin dry? Do you have eczema? Do you have psoriasis? Are your nails brittle? These are all big things. Are your eyes really bulging and poking out like someone with Hashimoto's? Or do you have dark circles under your eyes? Or do you have severe bags under your eyes? These are all part of a good evaluation and exam. And sometimes this is just the doctor talking to you and they're doing this while they're talking. Then after that, now we go through testing, and that testing is based on that consult and an exam on what testing we need to do, because it's like an investigation. Think about this. A good doctor is somebody that's going through an investigation with you to figure out why you're having the symptoms and the problems that you're having. So we're going through health history, we're doing evaluations, we're doing feeling and moving and seeing what your body can do and what it can't do. And then we're going to test. Maybe it's blood work. Maybe we're seeing what's your blood showing us, what's in the blood that we could look at. What is it? Hormones? Is it a immune panel? Whatever that is. Or do we need to look at metabolites? Are metabolites in your urine showing us that you're using certain pathways to get rid of estrogen that's causing problems? Or are we looking at metabolites to see what your neurotransmitters are doing? Are we looking at your stool to figure out why you have such a bad digestive issue or why you have skin issues? Is there a bacterial infection? Is there a yeast infection? Do we need to do an x-ray to see what your spine looks like? And that could be the physical stress that's causing most of your other problems. It's really cool that, some of the times we'll just do spinal care for somebody and their digestive problem goes away because we got rid of a physical stress on their body. Many times that concussion, we have to go through a brain rehealing process where we're actually doing certain nutrients and supplements and educational processes, re-educating the brain, neuroplasty stuff to help with that gut issue that's stemming from the concussion. I hope you're following me here. I'm kind of going a little bit all over the place. Am I all over the place? No? Okay, cool. But what I'm getting at is it's individual. A real healthcare plan is individual. We're sitting and we're communicating back and forth as an investigation to figure out what have you experienced in your life that's led you to the point where you are right now. And then once we get to that point, we say, okay, we got enough information here today based on this, based on the testing that we've done. Here is the plan. Here's what I think is causing your inflammation, because at the end of the day, it's inflammation in the body, right? These things are inflaming the system, which is why you're feeling the symptoms. So what's causing the inflammation? What stressor is it? Is it emotional? Is it physical? Is it chemical? Is it all the above? What do you need to change in your lifestyle so that we can help reduce those stressors? What herbs can I give you to help your body adapt to some of those stresses? And then what do we need to get rid of? Is it bacterial infection. A bacterial infection can cause a hormone issue. If you have a gut infection, it can lead to hormone problems. So we need to attack and get rid of that gut infection, which is the stressor. So number one is we start to get rid of the stressor. In return, we get your body to stop being inflamed. Let me just say that again. We get your body to stop trying to create an immune response. Okay? We're not trying to get rid of inflammation. I'm not trying to give you an ibuprofen to block what your body's trying to accomplish, which is an inflammatory immune response. I don't want to do something that's just going to block that response. I want to figure out why your body wants to create an immune response, because it does that based on the stressors in your environment, which might be a chemical, physical, or emotional, or which is a physical, chemical, or emotional stress, and your body has to respond to it. It's trying to adapt to its environment. If there's one thing you ever learn from listening to these videos, is that your body is smarter than you think it is. It's smarter than anyone knows it is. It's kind of funny that, I've been researching medications, and particularly beta blockers and anti-seizure medications for a patient. And I'm looking at these things, and I go on drugs.com and I put in the beta blocker, and I'm reading, and you know what the first thing it says on there is, this helps with this, but we have no idea why and what it does in the body. Let me just say it again. They don't know why it does it. They just know that it does it, so we're doing it. If you look at aspirin, we don't know how it works. We just know it works. If you look at most everything, if you look at anesthesia, do you know how anesthesia works? Me neither, and neither do they. And that's why it's all over the place, because they're just going based on what they've seen happen. They're not really looking at physiology and knowing this is what's going on in our body. So my point is that I don't want to give you a drug that I don't really know what it's doing, that it's going to block pathways or excite pathways that are going to lead to more health issues for you, when I could go in and say, okay, why is your body creating this response? What is stressing it out to make it want to try to adapt like this? And we can start to investigate. Maybe it's a food allergy. Maybe you just need to stop eating avocados that are inflaming your gut because your body's creating an immune response to it, and then we need to heal your gut back up. Maybe that's the problem. But we never know until we test. And that's why, I could shoot a video right now on the top 5 ways to get rid of stress, or the top 5 ways to get your body healthy with ulcerative colitis or anything else, but I don't know what caused your ulcerative colitis until we actually go through that process. So that's it. That's the next step, is that we're looking to figure out where's the stressors, how do we remove those stressors, and how do we help your body adapt to those stressors so that it's no longer creating that immune response of inflammation, right? People want to know, how do I get rid of inflammation? You find out why your body's inflaming you. Okay, you find out why your body's having an immune response. That's how you get rid of inflammation. And then once we've done that, we've created this plan, you go through the plan. And here's the kind of process that in the wellness way, which is what we work with. Dr. Patrick Flynn has created an amazing healthcare system that I think is going to be the next healthcare system, because it has to change. It's not like we want it to change. Our healthcare system is changing, and it has to change. More and more people are getting sick and tired of being sick and tired and going to a doctor that's just giving them a drug, and they want something different. And I think this is the system that's going to do it, based on everything I just told you so far. And then we go through a timeline of care. And that first thing we do is we're trying to get rid of inflammation, and we're doing that just how I said, the stressors in getting rid of inflammation, or getting rid of your body creating an inflammatory response. The second thing that we want to do is now we want to repair our body. So I got it listed out over here. We want to repair the body. So we get rid of inflammation, and now we start to repair the system. And once we've repaired the system enough to where your liver is working good, your kidneys are working good, then we can start to detoxify the system, right? Not some special pill, but certain herbs that will help make your liver excited and get it pumping and getting things out of your body, and help pull stuff out of your gut that we don't want to be there, certain chemicals. And then we can start to rebuild. Once you've detoxified, now you rebuild that body back up, you restore the gut, you make everything really strong. And finally, as you create that point, now we start to support the body. You support hormones, right? You support the body's ability to handle stress. You support the system. And if you're listening, I never said we treat anything. I never said we're going to cure anything. We are restoring the body back to balance. And when the body is in homeostasis, when you're flirting back and forth between fight or flight and sleep and digest food mode with your central nervous system, it's just hanging in this mode. It goes, excites up, you go through life, you come back down, you rest, you digest, you excites back up, you rest, you digest, you reproduce. All these things happen within that cycle right here. It's called homeostasis. We support the body like that, and then finally you continue to retest. People say, what do I do for a testing? What's my long-term plan in terms of my health? Well, you do everything I just said, and then you're doing regular retesting. I like the idea of quarterly, twice a year, once a year, you pick what's best for you. But retesting food allergies, that could be maybe a once a year, and then over time you don't really need to retest it again once you've done a healing gut process. It could be stool testing to make sure your digestive system's strong, because we live in a world, hey guys, you could be walking in a field full of glyphosates and pesticides and it destroys your gut. It's just some things you can't control, so I like to retest to make sure the body's doing well. Hormones, make sure your body's still using the right pathways to get rid of estrogens, and make sure your hormones are strong. For guys, regularly testing testosterone, estrogens, your LH levels in your pituitary to make sure it's working, and all these other hormones that will tell us how healthy your body is. Testing CRP levels, which tells us how inflamed you are. If your body's systemic inflammation, that could have come from you being on a computer all the time, right? It's not necessarily stuff we can always control because it's part of our life. Right, so but that retesting will tell us homocysteine levels to see if we're possibly about to have moving into a heart disease mode, blood sugar, insulin levels. All these things are telling us what your body's doing, and these are the kind of stuff that we test on a yearly basis. An immune panel that will tell us how strong your body is and your immune response is, to see if you're ready, if you need to fight cancer, or to see if cancer is developing and your body's responding to something, and then we can investigate more. But those are your regular testing, and that's called wellness care. Let me just say that again. That is what wellness care is. Wellness care is not get rid of headaches. Headaches are a therapeutic mode where we have to go through everything else I talked about in the beginning. Once you get down to where now we're in that stage where we're just supporting the body and building it up and always moving towards health, because health is a continuum, that is when you know, hey, I'm in wellness care, and that is health care. And then if something comes back up, like you have a car accident or you something gets in your environment, you have a stress that you can't handle, and it in return starts to create symptoms, we shift back into that mode of therapeutic. Let's figure out what's causing it. That, in my opinion, from all the years of doing what we're doing, is a health care plan. Does that make sense? Emergency care, if you have the instance where it's something immediately we need to change, like, hey, you're bleeding out in your arm and we need to do something about it, that's an emergency. Hey, if you get whatever that is, you guys understand emergency, but that's not healthcare. The faster you move away from using your emergency care system as your healthcare system by going to your doctor on a yearly and regularly basis to get evaluations so that he can give you a medication if he finds a fire, the faster you're going to live a longer, healthier life. And that includes our kids. We have more pediatric visits than any country in the world. We have more vaccines than any country in the world. We have the well visits. We have all these interventions for kids, and we have the sickest kids in the industrialized world. We're the sickest country in the industrialized world. But when it comes to kids, we have the highest infant mortality rate among the top 37 industrialized countries in the world. I don't know if you just heard what I said. If you have a baby in America, it's less likely to live and be healthy in America than it is in the top industrialized countries in the world. And it's because of the interventions that we're doing. It's because of the massive amount of vaccines. It's because of the actual birthing process that we're doing. It's because of all the ultrasounds and testing that we're doing before. It's because of the flu shots and things they want to give moms. It's because of how they tell the moms to eat. It's because of how they tell how they tell them to feed their babies high fructose corn syrup in the form of formula. It's because of the protocols that the medical system, our emergency care system, not healthcare system, has put in place for you to follow, and that's become our cultural authority. And because it's our cultural authority, we are sick. It has to shift. You have to shift your thinking, and it only will happen for you individually, one person at a time, will shift thinking. Go on thewellnessway.com, get yourself connected. And this isn't a promotional video, but it's the best place I can tell you to go, that I know you're going to get a doctor that thinks differently, thinks clearly, and is going to treat you as an individual and do everything they can to make sure you have a strong, healthy body and a strong, healthy healthcare system for the rest of your life. So go to thewellnessway.com, put your area in, and find yourself a doctor that's going to invest their time, energy, and everything into you to make sure you have a good, healthy life. And that's just it. The cool part about being a Wellness Way doctor is I have to get you better in order for you to tell everyone else about it. Medicine doesn't have to get you better. They're already the cultural authority. So go to someone that has actually some skin in the game to get you better, and I think you're going to see a lot better results. That's our healthcare plan for you guys. All right, hey guys, I hope you like that, and I hope you got a lot out of that. Again, if you want to be on this mission with us, you can see this is not just something we're doing for fun. This is a mission, and right now with Corona and everything else, it's taken to a whole different level. People need this more than they ever had before. I've realized how confused people are in terms of healthcare, more than I've ever known before. So if you want to be on this mission with us, share these videos, get it in front of people. People would really, truly need to understand what a healthcare system looks like. And I believe that if you do that, if you share this stuff, if people continue to change and shift their thinking, it will change the trajectory of our world. It will change the trajectory of this city, Charlotte I'm in. It'll change the trajectory of our state, North Carolina. It'll change the trajectory of our country in America, because people will start changing how they're investing their money. And when we change how we invest our money, they listen and we start to change actual healthcare. It's not going to happen politically at the governmental level. It's going to happen by you changing where you're going. All right, you guys have an awesome day, and I hope you got a lot out of this, and we'll talk to you next time.